Andy Cruz versus Antonio Moran. 10 rounds in the 135-pound division. Let's get into it. Let's start with the records. Andy Cruz, 3 wins, no losses, 1 win by way of stoppage. Antonio Moran, 30 wins, 6 losses, 1 draw, and 21 wins by way of knockout. Now, this is a step up for Andy Cruz, which, you can understand why, because his team obviously believes in his talent, his skill, his amateur pedigree, everything that he's been able to accomplish in the amateurs. And in the professional, he's 28 years old. So, he's new in the professional scene, but age-wise, time is ticking. He's had 23 professional rounds compared to Moran, who's had 189. So when we're talking about experience, Moran has the edge over Cruz so far. Andy Cruz in his first fight, you could still kind of see, he was still adjusting from that amateur style of fighting. I said this before a bunch of times on this channel already, man. I love the Cuban style of boxing, man. Some of my favorite styles, the movement, the slickness inside the ring, the IQ, the quick counters, the great footwork. But not a lot of people share those same sentiments as well, too. It's not always their favorite style of fighting. They don't always go for the stoppages. They are more comfortable with just winning the fight, right? A decision victory, but a beautifully skillful decision victory. Now, I'm not saying that's everybody, but that's more or less the box that people often put Cuban fighters in. Now, when Andy Cruz fought Giovanni Stefan, it was a much different story, man. He was sitting on those punches. He was loading up on those shots a little bit more and literally focusing on trying to get that stoppage. And he did just that. He stopped him in 3 rounds. He was coming more on the front foot, and he was being more offensive than he was defensively, especially in that first fight. I don't think every fighter needs to get a stoppage, but I think as spectators of the sport, we want to see a mixture of different styles. We want to see you come forward at times. We want to see you bring that pressure at times. And we also want to see that defense at times. We just want to see both worlds mesh. And that was what we were starting to see from Andy Cruz, and not just being comfortable fighting on the outside, but pushing forward on the front foot, and that switch, so to speak. If the knockout is there, why not go for it? In his second fight of his career, yeah, he went for it. Now, in his most recent fight against Brian Zamarafa, Zamarafa, man, Cruz immediately closed the gap early in that first minute of that fight, man. And he put immense pressure on Zamarafa. Cruz has excellent timing, man. He's very quick with his shots. He's got great reflexes. And he showed that in his last fight. He never really let his opponent really get going. Even though he didn't get the stoppage in that fight, it was a fight that showed improvement, and especially on the front foot. It's easy to go back to old ways when you're hitting a guy and you can't get them out of there. And so you're just like, what? I'm just going to step back and go back to what I know is going to win this fight comfortably. But nah, man, he was still being the aggressor. He was still coming forward. He was still setting traps to get his shots off. And he put forth some really good combinations, man, and had his opponent Zamarafa, bloody and fighting off the back foot and retreating on the back foot in the second part of the fight. He didn't take a lot of punishment either. Andy Cruz, he didn't take a lot of punishment either. So even though he didn't get the stoppage, man, I still felt like it was a good showing. And you got to see the skills, the speed, and all of the amateur stuff that made him successful. He's cultivating that. And now he's a little bit more aggressive to go with that God-given ability that God has blessed him with. Now, Antonio Moran, he's an aggressive guy, kind of wild at times, decent power, comes forward, but his chin is up when he fights at times. He loads up on his shots. And if you're quick with your hand and reflexes, man, when he misses or you step back a little bit, you can counter him and make him pay, just as Devin the Dream Haney did. Now, we know Devin Haney isn't known to be this big power puncher by no means, but Devin Haney was looking like Gervonta Davis when he fought Moran. He was looking to land those big shots. He was looking to set up those big shots. Haney's speed, movement and counter punches were just a little bit too much for Moran on that night, man. He was getting countered a whole lot, clean, flush punches, that left hand, those overhand shots. Those were all successful. Those uppercuts, those were all successful against Moran. And he just started to look less confident the more that he was getting touched up. And he found himself backing up and got stuck on the corner. Devin Haney caught him with a shot that made Moran drop his hands down. And Haney came over with that right hand overhand. And the way how that shot landed, man, Devin Haney literally threw everything, his whole body into that shot. We know Haney isn't a big puncher like that, but the shot that he landed on Moran, that would have took out almost anybody. How beautifully timing in place that shot landed on Moran's chin. And that was a shot that closed out the show. I think that was the last time Moran was stopped. Now, Moran also fought and lost to Jose Pedraza, who Pedraza pieced him up nicely as well, too. Left him bloody and almost got the stoppage. Arnold Barbosa was beating him pretty good. But, you know, Moran's tough, man. I think he was fighting that fight with the broken nose after the second round. And I felt like if Barbosa didn't get sucked into going through the motions and stayed more aggressive, he might have been able to get the stoppage of his own. Then he lost to Jermaine Ortiz, and he did have Jermaine Ortiz hurt a couple times in that fight, especially in that second round. But once Ortiz got back to fighting a disciplined fight and fight back on the outside and controlling the range, that's when he was able to find his groove again and come out and win the fight. But those guys that I just named, you know, those are all good counter punchers, all guys that are slick, athletic, and good movement and good skills. Andy Cruz, he encompasses a whole bunch of that as well, too. In Moran's last outing, you know, he fought Romero Duno, and he did get the stoppage in the 6th round. So Moran has been battle-tested. He's fought some really good opposition. And so he might have a bunch of losses on his resume, man, but he's a tough cat, man. And a guy that Andy Cruz, you can't take him lightly. You know, Moran's gonna come to win this fight. And if he has to go out letting his hands go, that's what he's going to do. So it's going to be an interesting fight. So who wins? Before I give my pick on this fight, I have something real quick to share. You know, I'm always looking to bring more light, more value, more opportunities for the community. I've been working on a few different things in recent weeks to not just grow the channel, but as I said, to continue to provide as much value as I can to each of you in our community. With that being said, I got some exciting news to share. I'm happy to announce my partnership with BetStamp and Sign Up Expert. It's a great opportunity for you to join some of the best sports books to get the best odds and new user offer. All you have to do is head over to my dedicated page at signupexpert.com/thebreakdown to explore a selection of sports books tailored to your region, each with its own unique offerings. So if you want to place a bet this weekend and on this fight and beyond, check out the link to find the best options for you in your region. Every sign up does support the channel, and it helps the channel grow and to expand and to create more opportunities, not just for me, but for our community. You know, I'm always looking out for you guys as best as I can. You can easily find the link in the description below this videos moving forward. So get down there and check it out and find the best option for you. Now, let's get back to the video. Now, Moran's going to come in as the bigger guy in this fight, man. He usually campaigns at 135 and 140. His last 3 fights are at 140 before he fought Jermaine Ortiz back at 135. So I wonder what his weight cut is going to be like when he steps into the ring on the night. There's probably no doubt that Cruz is going to be the favorite, I'm sure. I think Cruz's decision is probably the safe bet, but Moran can punch. You know, he's not chopped liver. Cruz has to be careful, man. You can't overlook this guy. But I'm going to go a little bold here, man. I like Andy Cruz by stoppage. All the losses that Moran has had, man, he's been touched up and he's gotten hit a whole lot. His defense is not great. He doesn't move his head off of the line, and he's susceptible to getting countered often. DevanHaney just kept clipping him consistently every single round until the right shot came and the right shot lined up, and DevanHaney took advantage of it, and it was over with. I don't think Haney is that much more of a bigger puncher than Andy Cruz, at least from what we've seen so far. And I know that Andy Cruz, the quickness, the speed, the accuracy, the placement is going to be a problem for Moran, especially when you have someone whose defense isn't great and doesn't move his head off of the line. So I think when Moran misses, Cruz is going to make him pay. Cruz is a pretty good defensive fighter, man. He hasn't really been touched too much so far since he's came into the professional scene. For me, I don't see the stoppage being something like that DevanHaney type of shot. I think it's going to be one of those stoppage where, the ref kind of waves it off because Moran isn't firing anything back. I think Moran's going to be the stronger guy. Is going to be the bigger guy on the night. And I think Cruz is going to come forward and trying to prove that he is an exciting fighter and prove that, man, like I have power to really hurt these guys. And I think he's going to try to prove that. As I said, though, Cruz's decision is probably the safer bet. But I'm going to go with Cruz by stoppage because I think if he does the right things, that he can stop Antonio Moran. And that would be a statement. So those are my thoughts. I would love to hear from you. How do you think this one goes? Who do you have winning this one? Let me know in the comment section below. Shout out to all the members holding down the membership section, man. I appreciate each of you. I don't always get to do all the suggested videos you guys suggest in the comment section below, but if you become a member, those suggested videos rise to the top, and I will do my best to get those done for you that week. Or if you would like to become a member just to show love and to support the channel, man, that would be greatly, greatly appreciated as well. If you would like to support the channel, there's also other ways that you can do so. Donation options are on the screen as well. Any amount goes towards the growth of this channel and will be greatly, greatly appreciated. So with all that being said, if you've been watching the video this long, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and we'll definitely see you next time.